Okay, so here we are back at the picture of the diagram as promised. And I want to just recap everything that I talked about when I was walking through the house and showing you the different areas, kind of relate it back to the diagram here so that it will all make sense for you. So the first thing I want to point out is you'll remember that when I was running the cable into the attic to hook up the HD antenna, what I actually did is I stole the cable that was wired into my daughter's bedroom. So that's why I've drawn this little outlet right here. That's my version of an outlet. This is my daughter's bedroom. So this cable that's going up to that HD antenna, it used to go over here and then down through the wall in my daughter's bedroom and into that jack right there. So I simply unscrewed it from the jack. I climbed up into the attic. I found the cable running across the attic, and I just pulled on it, and it just came right up out of that wall, and I hooked it to my HD antenna. Now I drew my HD antenna kind of curved here because I've got it hanging on a rafter in the attic. So your attic will have rafters that are running from the roof down here to the main structure, and the higher that you can get that antenna, the better. So I hung it way up on kind of the very top of one of those rafters up there, and that seemed to work really well getting it up there. Some people, depending upon where you live, you could put this HD antenna inside your house. A lot of people put it like right next to their TV. For me, I live in the kind of northern suburbs of my city, and I'm a pretty good distance away from the television stations where they have their antennas. And so I tried it out when I first set this up by putting it in my living room, and I didn't get hardly any reception. I then tried and moved it by a window in the family room, and it got a little bit better, but still not very good. The next thing I did is I brought it outside. I got a real long cable, and just to see how it would work, I went out on the front porch and put it out there, and it worked a lot better on the front porch outside. So from there, I figured, well, I bet if it worked good on the front porch, it'll probably work pretty good in the attic, and so that's why I decided to put it in the attic. If you're located in a downtown area or close to the TV stations that you're going to want to receive a signal from, then you'll probably get away just fine having the antenna inside your house. I just happen to have to put it in the attic because of how far away I am. And there's websites out there. If you just go to Google and search for, television stations and then whatever your city name is, like on Google Maps or something, it'll usually show you where there are. I think I even found a website somewhere that showed what the signal strength would be from my zip code to all the local stations, and some of them were pretty good, and others were not so great. But moving it to the attic, I get every local station. I only have a little bit of trouble with one station, which is located on the far south of town, and I'm on the far north side of town. It's a good 50 miles away probably. And I get that channel in general, but in some cases it does flicker out a little bit. So anyways, so just kind of recapping everything that we showed you here. So I've got the antenna up there in the attic, and if I follow this line, it comes down here through, this is the furnace and hot water heater kind of chute or space that I have in the middle of my house. Again, as I said earlier, some people could have that on the side of their house. It's going to be on the inside, but towards the side, just dependent upon where your furnace and your hot water heater are located. Mine happen to be centrally located in the basement, and so there's this chute that's already been kind of built out to go all the way up to the attic where these pipes run through, and that's a great place to run a cable up through those because you've got a lot of room to work with there. So if I follow the HD antenna line all the way down here, it goes into the basement, and then across the beams in the kind of the roof or ceiling part of my basement, it runs out here along with these other wires to the cable box, and that's where I've got this showing up here, where it's got the attic slash HD antenna coax cable that's coming into the box, and I have that connected to the family room slash TiVo box cable. So if I follow this cable out, it's going to go down, from the box. It runs across the ceiling of the basement, and it's one of these that runs here. And then I just have a hole drilled in the very corner of my family room, very discreet. You just pull up the carpet a little bit in the very corner. And I could probably show you. And I'm not in that room right now, but basically what you do is you go to the corner like this, and you can, if you grab this carpet, you can pull it. You can pull it up and just drill a hole right there, and then push the carpet back down. And you'll never see that cable, especially if you've got an entertainment center that's fairly close to it. So anyways, back over to the drawing. So that is this line, the antenna. So really what it's doing is it's going from the attic, and I could have gone from the antenna straight down here and then ran it straight to the TiVo box. I didn't have to run it all the way out to the box, but it was easier because there was already, this coax cable was already run out to the box, because the person who lived here before me, they had cable, and their cable was already run to the TiVo box. So the advantage, their cable was already run to the family room. So the advantage of digging into your cable box and changing around where everything goes here is, in most cases, you don't have to rerun any wires. You may have to rerun like one, like I did. I mean, this is really the only wire that I changed was pulling the coax from this bedroom and moving it up into the attic. All of the rest of the cables that are in this diagram were already run where they are in the house, so I didn't have to make any of those changes. Okay, so we've kind of covered how we get the HD antenna hooked into the TiVo box. And there'll be an antenna port on the back of the TiVo box that's a coax, and that's really the one that you'll see there. So the next thing that we covered was, I think, this internet cable. So in my case, and most likely in yours as well, you're still going to have an internet provider. Cutting the cord really means cutting your cable TV cord. It doesn't necessarily mean cutting your high-speed internet cord, and you're probably going to still want to have high-speed internet. And so in my case, my internet comes in to that same cable box because it's provided by the cable company, and then it goes to a splitter, and then that splitter feeds one line to the master bedroom, which is my second TV, excuse me, and it's got a TiVo Mini that's installed there. And then the second one goes to the basement, which is where my MOCA adapter that I talked about earlier and showed is. Again, so looking at the video, one of those cables comes in here, and this is the master bedroom one that goes to the master bedroom and the TiVo Mini. It goes up the chute, and then once it's in the attic, it comes over to the master bedroom and drops through the wall in the master bedroom down to the outlet there. And then from the outlet, it's coax cable going into the TiVo Mini. And then from the TiVo Mini, there's an HDMI cable that goes to the TV. And so that's really all you have to do to set up the TiVo Mini if you're using the MOCA adapter. Now, if you're also using the TiVo, the same setup, you don't have to use a MOCA adapter. You could run Ethernet cable, and you could go Ethernet from your router over to the TiVo Mini, but that would involve running a bunch of extra wires depending upon your house. My house was built in '92. Back then, houses that were built did not already have Ethernet cable run into all the rooms. You know, new construction today, that's pretty much a standard thing, but mine didn't, and I didn't want to mess with running Ethernet cable all over the place. So I got that MOCA adapter that would allow me to use the already existing coax cable. Okay, so that's the master bedroom / TiVo Mini line that's in the cable box there, running up that way, and that line was already in place, so I didn't have to add or change any of that when I set this up. The only thing I had to do was identify which line in the cable box was going to the master bedroom. That was it. Excuse me, I'm coughing a few times here. All right, so the last line that was in that cable box was the basement slash MOCA adapter line. And again, I found that line by taking a TV in the basement and hooking it up to the cable in the basement, and then hooking my HD antenna up out here, as I described in my video earlier. And then once I got channels down here, I knew I had the basement line, and I could label it. So the basement line just runs right down here, and it goes down to the MOCA adapter. And so then the MOCA adapter, I kind of showed this in the real one earlier. You'll have an in line, which is your coax going in, and that's not your antenna in. It's important to remember your antenna going in goes to the TiVo box. This is your high-speed internet going in. So remember, if I trace this back out here, that's coming from the internet. Okay, so this is, it's kind of hard to understand how this all works, but this is the way that it all communicates with each other. So your internet's coming in, and your internet is being routed into your MOCA adapter. Then you're coming out of the MOCA adapter with a coax cable, and that's connecting over to the coax input on your wireless router that will be provided by your internet provider. And then you've got an Ethernet cable that's going to go from the MOCA adapter to the one of the Ethernet ports on your router. And then finally, one more Ethernet that's going from your router over here into your family room in your TiVo box. So you'll want to run, this will have to be a new line you run right here, this Ethernet. It's unlikely that you're already going to have an Ethernet run into your family room unless you've got new construction. And so what I did is I just ran that through the same hole that was already there for this coax cable. And that was very easy to do. Again, I pulled the carpet up, found where that existing cable was already run, and then just ran the Ethernet cable through the same thing, and then down here to the router. I've got the router sitting outside the house, but my router's in the basement next to the MOCA adapter. I just didn't have enough room down here, so I had to put it out there to draw it. So that's really it. So with this setup, functionally the way it works is I can turn on this TV, and I have over the air, because it's got the antenna coming into it right here. And then I could turn on this TV, or any number of additional TVs that I would want that have a TiVo Mini. And I also have the over-the-air channels. And the way that this gets the over-the-air channels is through this coax cable that's running down here from the family room, from the master bedroom, and hooking up to the internet, as well as this spliced, which runs to the basement down here. And then the basement runs from the MOCA adapter over to the router, and the router goes back to the internet. So it's kind of like this TV here gets the over-the-air channels by being connected into the same network that this TiVo box is through this Ethernet cable. So we're going Ethernet to the router, and we're going Ethernet to the MOCA adapter, and this MOCA adapter is putting the data and everything that's on that Ethernet into this coax, which is then being run back up to the master bedroom. So pretty slick how that works, but it all does work. So not only do I have the local channels over the air on this TV, but I also have access to everything that's on this DVR, which is all my recorded shows, and I also have access to any of the apps that are installed and configured on this TiVo box, like Netflix, Amazon Instant Video, Pandora, any of those other apps. Functionally, the TiVo Mini and the TiVo box work exactly the same. If it was a blind test, you probably wouldn't know which one that you were using. This is the master, and this is where everything's being stored from, and this is kind of like the slave, where it's just accessing everything from the master. So, beautiful setup. Works great for me. I've had no problems since the initial setup of it. And again, if you do not have a DVR or want a DVR, then you basically cut out this whole section down here, and you would simply have your HD antenna run to, and again, the easiest way to do it is out here in your cable box. Run your HD antenna on something that goes down there, and then have a splitter, and then each TV that wants over-the-air channels from that splitter would get them from here. So you'd basically just go straight from the splitter to wherever the room was. I would bet with 75% certainty that your house is already going to be wired, and all you're going to have to do is change the connections over here in the cable box to make all of this happen. Most houses that I've been around have cable outlets in just about every room, and so it's just a matter of finding where those outlets are and then tying the correct ones together to utilize the space the best. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to leave any comments and subscribe for any new videos I do in the future.